There's a moment, quiet and unannounced, where something inside you just stops. It arrives without fanfare or dramatic collapse. You simply grow tired of holding everything together with white knuckles and clenched jaw. You've been pushing, trying to make life bend to your plans, trying to force answers out of silence that refuses to speak on your schedule. The exhaustion becomes undeniable. But then, without warning, you just let go. Your chest exhales and everything shifts. Not through effort, but through release. Life works in strange ways. When you stop forcing outcomes, when you stop running around trying to control every variable, things begin to move again. Movement returns through a different mechanism than the one you've been desperately operating. Reality responds to your surrender with more grace than it ever offered your control. Letting go carries a quiet kind of strength that most people never recognize as power. The kind that says, I don't need to chase anymore. I trust what's already mine. Once you reach that place where you're no longer chasing life like it's running away from you, you start to notice something fundamental. Life was never trying to avoid you. It was waiting for you to calm down long enough to receive what it's been trying to give. Most people spend their entire existence in fight mode, battling the world, battling time, battling others, battling themselves with relentless intensity. They wake up in a hurry, chase goals in a panic, and fall asleep with tension still buzzing in their chest like electricity that never shuts off. The strangest part is they think this represents normal functioning, that this is how human life is supposed to feel. But look closer at that urgency, that obsession with being in control. It doesn't come from clarity. It emerges from fear. Fear of being left behind while everyone else advances. Fear of not being enough for some imaginary standard. Fear that if you don't keep everything in your grip, if you relax your hold for even a moment, it'll all fall apart. Here's what nobody tells you while you're white-knuckling your way through days. Life isn't a machine you need to control through constant adjustment and micromanagement. It's a rhythm you need to sync with. Just like with music, the more you tense up, the more offbeat you become. You lose the timing. You miss the cues that would guide you if you were listening. You try to speed up what's meant to unfold slowly, forcing tempo changes that create discord instead of harmony. Real peace, the kind that doesn't vanish the moment you close your eyes at night, arrives when you stop needing to fix the moment. When you stop demanding life be something other than what it is. When you stop trying to hold water in your hands and finally let it flow through your fingers. That's where the magic begins. That's where things start showing up for you without being hunted down. People, ideas, moments, all arriving without being chased across town. This happens because you aligned yourself with how things actually move rather than how you think they should move. You became the calm center in the middle of chaos. And that's when life finally starts responding to what you are rather than what you're trying to force. Letting go isn't weakness or resignation. It's the quiet decision to stop holding yourself hostage to outcomes you were never supposed to control in the first place. The more you cling to certainty, demanding guarantees before you'll take a step, the more life slips through your hands like sand. You start micromanaging every detail, every conversation, every moment, every delay, as if the universe is some broken machine you need to fix with the right combination of worry and effort. But life isn't broken. It's just operating on a different schedule than the one your anxiety created. The moment you truly let go, you stop living in resistance. You stop waking up with the pressure of needing to make things happen through sheer force of will. Instead, you begin noticing what's already happening around you. Opportunities that were always there suddenly become visible. Signals you used to miss while you were too busy forcing start registering in your awareness. Clarity arrives that feels effortless, natural, like remembering something you always knew but had forgotten. You're not becoming lazy or passive. You're finally moving with life instead of against it. When you're so focused on controlling the path, mapping every step before you take it, you forget to trust the intelligence behind the unfolding. The pauses, the detours, the closed doors that felt like rejection, they weren't mistakes or evidence that something is wrong with you. They were redirects. They were quiet whispers telling you that you don't need to push so hard, that you're still being led even when you can't see the destination. When you realize that, you start showing up differently. You become calm, not because everything is perfect or because all your problems dissolved, but because you finally understand something fundamental. You were never meant to carry the weight of the world on your own shoulders. And when you stop trying to control everything, something unexpected happens. Your presence becomes magnetic. People can feel the shift even if they can't name what changed. They sense that you're not operating from fear anymore. You're not in survival mode, not grasping or pleasing or seeking approval like your life depends on it. You're simply being. And that kind of energy creates safety. It creates gravity that pulls people in without you performing or pretending. When you're forcing life, you're trapped in your head, overthinking every detail, overanalyzing every interaction, planning every word before it's said because you can't trust yourself to respond naturally. But when you trust life, you drop back into your body. You start to notice your own breath again. You listen instead of just waiting for your turn to speak. You respond from calm rather than urgency. That shift alone changes how people respond to you. Suddenly you're not chasing attention. It finds you. You're not demanding love through manipulation or performance. It flows toward you because you've become someone who moves through life with depth. Someone who knows that silence can say more than noise. That waiting isn't wasted time. That being grounded in yourself is the most attractive energy that exists. So many people exhaust themselves trying to be liked, trying to control outcomes in their relationships, careers, even their own healing process, and they miss the point entirely. The less you need to force, the more life flows in the direction that was always meant for you. But you can't fake that trust. You can't pretend your way into surrender. You have to build it moment by sitting in uncertainty without trying to escape it through distraction or busy work, by being okay with not knowing and still moving forward anyway. That's the path. And while it's not loud or dramatic, it's the only one that leads you back to yourself. As you begin living from this place of trust instead of tension, you'll notice something else emerging. Clarity doesn't come from thinking harder or analyzing more thoroughly. It comes from quiet. When you stop forcing life, your inner world finally has the space to speak. Not in loud, obvious ways that feel like revelation, but in subtle shifts, in gentle nudges, in that calm knowing you feel when something just aligns without logical explanation. You've probably felt it before. That soft pull toward a decision that doesn't make sense on paper, but somehow feels right in your chest. That peace that shows up the moment you decide to let go of something you were clinging to out of fear. That's the voice of clarity, but it doesn't shout over your anxiety. It only shows up when you've stopped making noise. Most people drown out that voice, not because they want to, but because they've been conditioned to fight their way through life, to hustle, to grind, to think their way through every scenario until they've outsmarted the unknown. The unknown isn't your enemy. It's your ally. It holds everything your mind can't predict, but your heart already feels waiting in the wings. The moment you stop trying to conquer it, you start to co-create with it. That's where life begins to unfold differently. You walk into rooms with less fear. You make choices that feel lighter. You stop chasing signs and start becoming one because you've built trust, not just in life but in yourself. From that space, you don't need to force clarity. You receive it. You don't need to force success. You align with it. You don't need to force connection. You attract it through presence, through peace, through the way you carry yourself when you no longer carry everything else. That's the energy shift people can't put their finger on, but they feel it the moment you walk in. And you'll feel it too when you stop asking life to hurry up and start allowing it to meet you where you are. Once you start embodying this trust, not pretending or forcing it, but really living it, the world starts to mirror back a different version of you. People respond to your energy before they respond to your words. When your energy is no longer rooted in desperation, tension, or needing to prove something, you become magnetic in a way that can't be explained, only felt. Control is a language that whispers insecurity. It says I don't trust what's coming, so I need to shape it myself. Surrender carries a different message. It says I trust that what's meant for me is already moving toward me. I don't need to chase it, only receive it when it arrives. And that energy changes everything. It's the calm confidence that makes people feel safe around you. It's the quiet depth that makes others want to lean in. It's the peace in your eyes that tells someone, even without words, that you've seen life's chaos and you didn't let it break you. You let it build you. Now you're not clinging to life. You're flowing with it like a river that's done trying to outrun the current and instead becomes part of it. This is why the moment you stop seeking, stop trying to fix, chase, earn, or control, you start experiencing life through a new lens. You begin to receive more support from unexpected places. You cross paths with people who feel like alignment instead of effort. You start feeling like time is working with you instead of against you. This happens when your nervous system shifts out of fear and into trust. When your energy says, I'm okay, even here, even now. The universe responds by showing you how okay you really are. What happens to your clarity when you stop forcing outcomes? Here's the paradox. When you're chasing something too hard, your vision gets blurry. You're so focused on what should happen that you miss what is happening. Opportunities don't vanish when you're forcing. You just don't recognize them. Your mind is busy filtering everything through control. Every conversation becomes a negotiation. Every quiet moment feels like failure. Every delay becomes personal. But when you stop gripping so tightly, a strange thing occurs. You start seeing clearly again. You start hearing what's actually being said, not through the filter of insecurity or expectation, but through presence. You notice subtle signs you would have missed. You respond rather than react. From that space, your decisions become quieter yet smarter, more aligned, more rooted. This is why people say when I stopped caring so much, everything worked out. They didn't give up. They stopped making decisions from fear, from a place of lack, from the illusion that if they didn't do everything, nothing would happen. Things were already happening. They just weren't listening. When you slow down internally, your outer world doesn't stop. It synchronizes. It starts to match your new pace. You get better results, not because you're doing more, but because you're aligned while doing less. That's the real power of surrender. It brings you back into rhythm with the moment. Not the story in your head, not the anxiety in your chest, but the moment. And the moment always knows what you need more than your overthinking ever could. When you stop forcing, you don't just gain clarity, you gain power. Not the loud, ego-driven kind of power, but quiet, unshakable inner power. The kind that comes from knowing you don't need to chase. You become the one who draws things in instead of running after them. And this changes everything. When you operate from trust, you stop over-explaining. You stop begging for signs. You stop looking to the outside world to constantly reassure you. Instead, your energy speaks first. People feel the calm in your presence. They notice your patience, your steadiness. And that's magnetic because most people are trapped in urgency and you're not. You've broken free from the noise. You're not running around proving your worth. You're not manipulating timelines just to feel in control. You're allowing life to unfold. And by doing that, you're making space for better things to actually reach you. The right moments, the right people, the right opportunities, they're never impressed by someone who's desperate to force. They respond to someone who's ready to receive. Readiness doesn't look like effort. It looks like stillness. It looks like quiet confidence. It looks like you living your truth without needing applause. Every time you feel that itch to control again, breathe. Remind yourself that stillness is not weakness. It's a deeper kind of action, one that takes more strength than the hustle ever did. In that stillness, you become available to what's meant for you. not just what you were trying to force. When you stop seeking, everything really does start flowing, not because you gave up, but because you finally stepped out of your own way. You weren't meant to chase. You were meant to trust.